lips of the adulterous woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end she is bitter as gall, sharp as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave. She gives no thought to the way of life. Her paths wander aimlessly, but she does not know it. Now then, my sons, listen to me. Do not turn aside from what I say. Keep to a path far from her. Do not go near the door of her house, lest you lose your honor to others and your dignity to the one who is cruel. Lest strangers feast on your wealth and your toil enrich the house of another. At the end of your life you will groan. When your flesh and body are spent, you will say, how I hated discipline, how my heart spurned correction. I would not obey my teachers or turn my ear to my instructors, and I was soon in serious trouble in the assembly of God's people. Drink water from your own cistern, running water from your own well. Should your springs overflow in the streets, your streams of water in public squares? Let them be yours alone, never to be shared with strangers. May your fountain be blessed, and may you rejoice in the wife of your youth, a loving doe, a graceful deer. May her breast satisfy you always. May you ever be intoxicated with her love. Why, my son, be intoxicated with another man's wife? Why embrace the bosom of a wayward woman? For your ways are in full view of the Lord, and he examines all your paths. The evil deeds of the wicked ensnare them. The cords of their sins hold them fast. For lack of discipline, they will die, led astray by their own great folly.
Thank you, Sarah. Looks, as they say, can be deceiving. And deception is more common than we would like to imagine. In one moment, it looks great, all cuddles and smiles, and in the next, shame, embarrassment, and ducking for cover. As Chris Martin, the lead singer of Coldplay, aptly said, right in the moment, they're either having an affair or they're very shy. It would appear that the woman here, Christine Gabbo, if that's how you pronounce it, Gabbett, has a bit of history. She dated her boss, actually, in a former company, and she was now married to him as his third wife, but that hasn't held her back. She's now dating her new boss, who was married at the time when they were caught on Kiss Cam. But they paid a heavy price, didn't they? Both ended up losing their marriages. Both ended up losing their high-paying jobs, losing the respect of their children, and so much. For the man, Andy Byron, his wife apparently, I say apparently because the trash websites you got to go to look at, research some of this stuff. You have all different things, but apparently she wrote, "This betrayal was not only a trampling of my personal dignity, it's a betrayal of our entire family. I have decided to leave him. I cannot tolerate sharing a bed with a man who has betrayed me. It's utterly disgusting. At the same time, I don't want my children to have to face a father every day who doesn't truly value them. I will take my children and leave this repulsive man behind." Very sad. Looks can be deceiving. And what apparently looks nice became, in a moment, the devastation of a wife and children whose trust had been trashed. And what we choose to view too can be deceiving. We know that every second movie in Hollywood has fornication and adultery, and it's so often we tend not to bat an eyelid anymore. And of course, in the movies, the real life consequences are never part of the movie. But it does seem a little strange to me that with that as our entertainment, why the outrage when it occurs for real? There is a lot about adultery and sexual temptation in Proverbs, here in chapters 5, 6, and 7, that we'll be looking at in the next couple of weeks. But the theme really is throughout is how deceiving looks can be. What looks good can actually end up as your destruction. And so we need to listen carefully to the warning and the instruction given here because we are all vulnerable. It's only the fool that thinks he is not. We are so vulnerable, in fact, that even the author of these words, King Solomon himself, fell into temptation, the very temptation that he's warning about. In Proverbs 5, we see a bit of a break-up here. Verses 1 to 6 are a warning from the father to his son. It describes the deception that will invariably come before him. Verses 7 to 14, we see the tragic consequences of being deceived into sexual temptation and adultery. Verses 15 to 20, though, give us a wonderful antidote to sexual temptation. Verses 21 to 23 give that final warning and a reminder that God is always watching. In this passage and many others, God wants to give us the wonderful gift of sexual wisdom. And so he begins, "My son, pay attention to my wisdom. Turn your ear to my words of insight, that you may maintain discretion and your lips may preserve knowledge." You can picture this, can't you? Son, look at me. Are you paying attention? Listen to me. We've all done it. Focus on what I'm about to say. Discretion is your ability to discern between good and evil, between garbage and what's worthwhile, to make wise decisions. Son, maintain your discretion because it is priceless and yet it is so easily lost, especially in the heat of temptation. Son, preserve knowledge. Keep on your lips what you know to be true and right. What is truth? God's opinion on the topic is truth. Not the latest survey or when it reaches 51%, it becomes the norm. No. And keep speaking God's true knowledge because if it's not preserved, it can easily and very quickly go bad. Verse 3, "For the lips of the adulterous woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is bitter as gall, sharp as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave. She gives no thought to the way of life. Her paths wander aimlessly, but she does not know it." Son, you are going to be tempted. It's coming. You're walking into a world of sexual foolishness. And Solomon would have no idea how worse it would get 3,000 years later. And it's going to be offered to you as honey. And because of that, you'll be attracted to it. But this honey will poison you. Son, you know honey is sweet, don't you? So whatever leaves a bitter aftertaste in your mouth can't really be honey, can it? So don't be fooled. Her smooth words may ooze seductive charm. Whether it's face-to-face, on the internet, whether it's a text message, her sweet talk and flattery. But that oil is really sharper than a double-edged sword. And my son, it's far more than the sexual act, because her feet go down. Sexual integrity is about life versus death, spiritual death and estrangement from God. Son, listen to me. The loss and death of everything you really care about is on the line. Now then, my sons, listen to me. Do not turn aside from what I say. Keep a path far from her. Do not go near the door of a house, lest you lose your honour to others and your dignity to one who is cruel. Lest strangers feast on your wealth and your toil enrich the house of another. There's great wisdom here in verse 8. Keep to a path far from her. Do not go near the door of a house. Take another route. Don't go home past her door. Prevention is better than cure. Have the conversation. Get some help. Get the software on your device when you're feeling strong before the temptation comes. Son, if you think you can dance on the top of a greasy, slippery dip without falling, you are doubly deceived. You are not only being deceived, you are deceiving yourself. You are a fool. Don't think you can get involved just a little bit and then you can get out and nobody will. The great London congregational preacher Martin Lloyd-Jones told us how life really works. Be careful how you treat God, my friends. You may say to yourself, I can sin against God and then, of course, I can repent and go back and find God whenever I want him. You try it. And you'll sometimes find that not only can you not find God, but that you do not even want to. You'll be aware of a terrible hardness in your heart, and you can do nothing about it. And then suddenly realize that it is God punishing you in order to reveal your sinfulness and your vileness to you. And there is only one thing to do. Turn back to God, turn back to him, and you say, oh God, do not go on dealing with me judiciously, though I deserve it. Soften my heart, melt me. I cannot do it myself. You cast yourself utterly upon his mercy and upon his compassion. And the next verses show how sexual foolishness wrecks everything. Verse 9, you lose your honour and dignity. Being dishonoured and undignified will mean you have lost your reputation. You're ashamed and you're embarrassed. You're filled with regret and you're probably alone because you're self-isolating yourself because of that shame. And in a small ancient community, say a village in Israel 3,000 years ago, with a small population, you are socially dead. And that is a very hard thing to come back from. I mean, especially these days, when like Andy and Kristen, there have been hundreds of millions of people that have seen that video, that photo that we began with. And it'll be there forever. It'll be online for your grandchildren to see. Pretty scary thought, isn't it? But it doesn't have to be 100 million, does it? Just 100 people in our local community knowing what you did is enough. Friends, family, colleagues, people from church. And these are the ones that matter anyway, don't they? In verse 10, you'll also lose your money to others, we see. If it was only the money you lost, you'd be lucky. Because the penalty for adultery, as we know, is death. But if the penalty for adultery, for various reasons we won't go into, was not carried out, you would have to pay the woman's husband an enormous sum or an ongoing payment till you died, putting you in poverty. So for example, if you were very wealthy in the village and the husband of the wife wasn't so wealthy, he might say, well, we'll commute the death sentence. Let's negotiate. Give me your stuff. That could be a scenario. Verse 11, at the end of your life you will groan when your flesh and body are spent. And you will say, how I hated, how my heart spurned correction. I would not obey my teachers or turn my ear to my instructors. And I was soon in serious trouble in the assembly of God's people. Verse 11, we see at the end of your life you will groan. Your flesh and your body are spent. See, promiscuity has physical dangers attached to it. Some are very well known. Venereal disease existed in the time that this was written, in Solomon's day. And today, and there are other diseases as there are today. On top of that, we have AIDS, and so many of these sexual transmitted diseases we know today affect liver, heart, nervous system, and can lead to infertility. So here you are, ashamed, in poverty, and with a sick body, and you finally wake up to yourself, verse 12. How I hated discipline, how my heart spurned correction. I would not obey my teachers. Sorry, but it's too late now. It's just too late. You were warned. You knew what could happen and you still went ahead. 7 times in the Gospels, Jesus speaks of weeping and gnashing of teeth in hell. What he's referring to there is this idea of a constant sentence of regret. Imagine that going over and over and over. this never-ending loop in your head for eternity. How I hated discipline. If only I had listened. How could I be so stupid? I betrayed everyone and now I've lost everything. If it's possible, it gets worse in verse 14. I was soon in serious trouble in the assembly of God's people. The humiliation of being dragged into the public square. Nowhere to hide. They're sneering at you. They're mocking in their self-righteous contempt of you. Yesterday, they were your friends. It's all over. Life, if they spare you, will never be the same. How could I be such a fool? But it doesn't have to be that way. Because this powerful warning also comes with a powerful positive teaching. Verse 15, drink water from your own cistern, running water from your own well. Should your springs overflow in the streets, your streams of water in the public squares? Let them be yours alone, never to be shared with strangers. Comparing sexual love in marriage to drinking water may seem a little strange to us. But having your own rainwater cistern or your own fresh, cool well was a great pleasure and delight when you live in a dry and dusty land. There's no fridge, no ice machine in the door. It was beautiful. And this precious water that you enjoyed, like your wife, is not open for others to take. May your fountain, verse 18, be blessed, and may you rejoice in the wife of your youth, a loving doe, a graceful deer. May her breasts satisfy you always. May you ever be intoxicated with her love. Why, my son, be intoxicated with another man's wife? Why embrace the bosom of a wayward woman? Like Song of Songs, the Bible expresses erotic desire between husband and wife in a bold, but in a beautiful and powerful way. And yet see how the words in these verses describe the quality, the quantity, and the ongoing continuity of marital sex as the years go on. These verses are saying, make it great and make it often. Be intoxicated. Be crazy in love with each other. This is the good and wise counsel of God for your marriage. Why would you be so dumb to throw all that away for another? He asks in verse 20. For your ways, verse 21, are in full view of the Lord, and he examines all your paths. The evil deeds of the wicked ensnare them. The cords of their sins hold them fast. For lack of discipline, they will die, led astray by their own great. Not only does being led into sexual sin outside of marriage bring relational, financial, social, and physical destruction, more important than all these things, God has prohibited it. and he is watching. He sees all we do, and he will judge all that we do. Everyone else in the house might have gone to bed. The door might be closed. You've even deleted your search history. But God is there, watching all of it. And if we really believed our theology of believing in God's omniscience, that is, his all-knowingness, and his omnipresence, that is, that he's always present, that theology should direct our behaviour. It should create the healthy fear of the Lord that keeps us from sin, that we've seen repeated as a theme throughout Proverbs so far. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. The fear of the Lord is a good and healthy thing. You can't escape the consequences either. Look at verse 22. You will be ensnared, and those cords of sin will wrap around, entangling you and holding you fast. We saw implied back in Proverbs chapter 1 that discipline equals freedom. In verse 23 here, we see that lack of discipline equals death. So with all the warnings and the positive advice, allowing ourselves to be led astray is a result of our own foolishness. I don't know about you, but aren't we all prone to foolishness? Just like we have all lied, just like we have all told half the story, the half that makes us look good, not bad. We have all, most likely, foolishly led ourselves astray into sexual sin at some level. And though this passage is addressed from a father to a son, the issue of sexual temptation applies equally to men and women and single and married and divorced, all those that want to uphold God's standard of sex being within the covenant of marriage alone. So there is no one in this room, I would imagine, that this passage is not relevant. Now, because it's in the next couple of chapters, I'll address dealing with sexual temptation more generally in the next 2 weeks in Proverbs 6 and 7. However, this passage gives advice in particular in how to deal with temptation when you're married. When it says things like, may you rejoice in the wife of your youth, may you ever be intoxicated with her love. And I don't think you need a degree in theology this morning to see what this passage is saying. That the best way to avoid sexual temptation is to have a great marriage. You're married. And so if you are married, it's clearly important to work on your marriage. And if you're not married, but think you will be one day, it's clearly important to know that you will need to work on your marriage. And that means working together, but even especially working on yourself so that you might be the delight for your spouse. There's a powerful principle here. I say it quite often to the young people. I've been saying it for years. Make Jesus, or in this case, your spouse, your ice cream. not your muesli. What do I mean by that? It's not something you should do because you think it's probably good for you and I better chew it up and put it down. That will never last as a motivation, unless you enjoy muesli, that is. I do, but that's... But here's the thing, when you desire something or someone more than the sin, that is the best antidote to sin, is it not? Because you're going to follow your desires. So if you're not desiring sin, you're desiring your wife or the Lord or time with him or something, it is the best way because it moves the whole thing from a negative, relying on your willpower, I better toughen up, I better try and I better pull up my socks. And your willpower changes every 5 minutes probably, if you're lucky, every half hour. And it changes all that now into a positive desire. And why wouldn't you want to invest in your marriage, your most important relationship, when there are so many benefits? The thing that will determine whether you are happy or sad at any given point in time is how you are relating to those closest to you. As I even said to youth 30 years ago, no point having a Porsche 911, you can do 0 to 100 in 3 seconds. If you've had a row with your wife and you're on the way to work because you don't care about the Porsche, you've got something else on your mind. It's not the stuff, it's the relationships that will make us happy or sad. And so invest in the most important relationship because those benefits are many. It will make you a happier person. You will enjoy time with one another. Blokes, you're not going to hive off to the blooming computer till midnight straight after dinner. You're going to actually look forward to going home. You laugh more together. And laughter is a very powerful thing. You actually want to give yourself to the other person. And as we see, there are so many more we could add, but it's going to reduce temptation. Well, so what does that look like? It looks like talking and listening. At least that's where it starts. It can move on from there. They say, I don't know if it's been scientifically proven or whatever, but I did hear once that women are given 10,000 words a day. Men are given 3,000 words a day. So by the time you get home, you've probably used 2,980 words. But she's just beginning. So when you get home, ask and listen. Make the time. Have the conversation. No, this, we drifted apart. No, you didn't. You didn't try. So listen. So here's the application. You probably need some help. And you don't have to be struggling in your marriage to make your marriage better. Liz and I couldn't say have really gone through a period of extended struggle, but we're constantly wanting to make our marriage better. So what do? Buy a Christian marriage book and commit to work through that together. I've got a few I can recommend. I've got a few you can borrow. But far better still, sign up to a Christian marriage course. Liz and I just finished the Alpha marriage course a few weeks ago. We did it in person about 10 years ago, and I highly recommend it.